and today I'm 34 years old. I've been planning on going to Adams for the last couple weeks. We are installing Cleetus' kit. First things first, that is the correct tap. Yep. We don't run this on 1, we run this on 2. Speed helps. Just a little bit of this. That's gonna be our bump stop. This is gonna be our Ackerman shim adjustments. That connects to a OEM knuckle. We have Dom throwing in the bearing. Go for it. And that's what Dom just put in, this thing. Snap ring in place. You can see the little bends here. All these bends account for something within the assembly. We have our sway bar attachment point. So the next thing would be to grab the pick list from the tablet, which watch me struggle and Dom would just rip. Oh, he's got it open. Okay, so we got our pick list, we got our numbers, we got our parts. Let's build. Dom's gonna add the mounting points here. I'm gonna go grab a couple of the universal sway bar links, and then we're gonna assemble these knuckles. We use a DeWalt for this because it's really weak and it won't hurt my hand. No anti-seize yet? The kit's coming together. Bump stop block, Ackerman adjustment. And the way the Ackerman adjustment works, take one of these shims, slide it in there like that. And the more shims we add, the closer to 0 Ackerman we get. So all 4 of these would be 0, and then none of them would be about an 8-degree spread. And what I mean by that is 60 lead, 52 trail. No shims. If I have all the shims, it'll be 60 and 60. We'll probably bring a couple extra shims just in case. We're trying to make his setup work with stock fenders, 19-inch wheels, and the only thing that's going to be protecting the angle is going to be this bump stop. So this bump stop is going to max out. Okay, so this contacts here and gets us our angle, and we can adjust the shims there. And then this is obviously going to be out of the way. It's going to end up something like that. Tie rod coming here, pulling, and then the other adapter on the opposite side of the car is going to be the bump stop hitting. So you want to limit your angle on the lead wheel because the lead wheel has the most amount of pressure on it, and it kind of dictates the amount of angle you're going to be able to get is when the lead wheel is maxed out. So that's how it's going to attach to the car. Let's get some good cycles. Get this out of the way. Yeah, see it, Jack? You visualize it?
Oh yeah, I see it.
So this is gonna have Cleetus in a burnout box with a bunch of people in the car ripping. All that force is gonna go through these parts. Heavy duty stuff. Definitely could get a bunch of content that we're gathering. Cam and I will probably vlog on our phones doing our thing. I got mics for that. We're only there for 3 days, it's gonna fly. So hopefully the design time side of things is gonna pick up because it's just been so busy. Ice racing killed us. Same with all the planning and pre-year setup. This is releasing this Friday. This is the E36 bolt-in OEM position handbrake that I've had the pleasure of using for the last several weeks in the ice drift car. I absolutely loved learning the pull-up. I definitely prefer it being by the wheel still. But only after a good hour or two, this became au naturel feeling. We've actually repurposed the handle. This is also used on our BRZ handbrake, which also bolts into the factory position just like this does. And we're actually gonna be able to use this handle on all kinds of setups like that. You can see it mechanically locks into a laser cut piece that has threads in it. Because of that, it makes it so universal to then lock in, and it looks great. Some socket head cap screws fitting into some counterbore holes. And you can also see we added this one little profile right here, which just makes the ribbing look extra nice. Little FTF Freight Shop engraving on both sides, done in-house, anodized, all that. Willwood Master, adjustment options. This really has been the best, easiest way to tune in the perfect feel, the perfect position with using the double heim joints, and then it also allows for absolutely no deflection left to right, which is really only an issue on a pull-up when you're kind of pulling it slightly off center. This one you're really limited to pulling it up. Did I say pull-up when I went like this? I don't know, doesn't matter. I used my hands, they know what I'm talking about. And really in the E36, you got some shots of this, right?
Yeah.
So it sits, this just pokes out the back of the center console. So you got to cut like a hole for there. But it actually makes it so that you can just fill this up, or your rear passengers can fill it up for you. Put some other stuff in it, who knows.
That could be inline as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah, this can totally be inline as well if you want it to be. It does exactly what it needs to do, and it's got to be the best setup. I haven't seen anything like it for fitment into the E36. I'll also be honest, I never looked. We worked on this together. Yeah. He did most of the designing, the scanning and everything, and then I was kind of just over the shoulder, look at this, try that. Yeah, Alex made pretty much all of this, obviously, FDF approved. This is where we're kind of at a loss, Jack.
Yeah. What do we do?
These are some nice hardened 370Z studs, and we're going with a shorter end and making basically a stud goes in here. It's actually a set screw, but it's a set screw stud, and the reason you buy set screws is because they have a hex drive in the end of them. They're high grade, they're hardened, they're strong. That's going to go in the end of this. This significantly reduced the amount of material. This is hardened 17.4, heat treated I should say. This is extremely strong, but we wanted to get rid of the whole tail. Typically we have a stud that goes to about here, nut, spacer, washer. I might as well show you what I'm talking about. Follow me. We'll probably find something in the back that we can look at for this design time. This is going to be more of a hands-on episode. You hardening stuff, Dill?
Not right now, no, sorry.
Hardening or heat treating, same or different?
Technically,
It's heat treating.
it's heat treating because we are going to a lower Rockwell. The
Lower
17
Rockwell, higher strength.
More ductility. A different type of strength, but it's so stiff that as soon as it wants to flex, we have a really high load applied to it, you're gonna get like a micro fracture,
Yeah.
basically. So this is just letting them kind of move around a little bit. Technically, they are getting softer than the annealed or condition A, but they're still gonna be much stronger than mild steel.
It's able to withstand more cycles of equivalent loads without fatigue, failing, or cracking. Transformer for the sanding machine. We got a conveyor.
What?
We got a conveyor that you take the sheets and the plates and all the laser cut stuff, water jet even too, put it into this conveyor machine, and it's gonna come out chamfered, descaled, cleaned. What I think everyone's most excited is the cross member braces and the hood vents and all those things.
Know who you should talk to? That guy right over there.
Dude, what's he doing?
I don't know.
We're going back to shipping. This is some more. So depending on the forces applied to the particular component, whether or not it's load bearing, whether or not the arm is trying to rip itself off, or if this is just simply inside of the bearing. This one actually has the spring on the control arm, and then the stud mounts this way. So the weight of the car is pushing the knuckle onto the taper, and then the shoulder of this is pushing itself into the bearing. So essentially, without any fastener at all, this would never come off, but of course, we're gonna still have a fastener on the end. Similarly, this one actually goes on the rear upper of a BRZ, and it also doesn't have much force trying to pull this stud out of the control arm. So you have to look at things like a Corvette where it mounts into the knuckle like this. Control arm goes here. a ton of force is trying to rip this out of the bearing. So in that case, you do need this large thread, spacer, big nut. So just in stud design, there's all kinds of different applications and requirements when it comes to what you can do and what you can't do, all based on the load path. The power went out this morning, so studs. Them 10 studs right here. Okay. Here's one. So this is actually, like I said, a set screw. It's just a really long one. So we'll have a shorter one with a custom machine nut that'll just go on the back of this and complete this whole setup. Just wanted to show you guys that. Road Racing Red. It's not what it's called, but that's what we're calling it. These are upper control arms for a 370Z. High clearance going to our grip knuckle here. Sway bar attaches here. We have a nice alloy steel control arm that's going to make it happen for these guys. We've sold a few of these setups. This is specifically for road racing, not for drifting, so it doesn't have the same camber reducing characteristics that the grip kit for the drifting has. We actually want to run quite a bit of camber on these. So we'll put this back. That's basically ready to rock. What's up, Shelbinator? The customer wanted a platinum BRZ mild kit. This is quite an extensive process that we have going on here, but basically we're using the OEM knuckles with control arms, OEM outer ball joint, extension goes on. This will be the second year that we've been running this on our BRZ since we designed it. We actually did road racing with this kit as well. It does give you some good track width. It handles pretty good. This will be a 350Z mega kit going together. Probably a couple components left to add. Now we have our tie rods. Oh, it's even getting a rack relocation kit. Let's see, made in Canada. Control arms. These are the uppers. On-car adjustable. These connect onto the knuckles. And every time we ship something, we take a photograph of it laid out. That way, if the customer does actually miss something, we can determine if it was shipping or if it was ourselves. E46 mega kit going out with some subframe reinforcement plates. Everything nicely bound, and then we do sign-offs on it as well. This is a custom color JZX or IS300 kit. You're a big Porsche guy?
Now I am.
You think it's cool?
It's pretty cool.
So it's my birthday, and for my birthday, my brother's wife made this lemon dessert. And if you don't know, which there's no way that you would know, I love lemon stuff and I hate icing and things like that. Nothing to do with design time, but relatable for many people, I'm sure. I just can't do the sugar. On the screen, I'm gonna show you what we are working on for the installation manuals. We had a couple customers asking us for OEM specs, mounting positions, and then recommended mounting positions. So we're actually just gonna, based off the question, nip it in the bud, and we go ahead and then we make it because we had more than 2 or 3 requests, so we might as well outline what these holes do, for what percentages, how much stiffness, so on and so forth. This is the OEM control arm, essentially hovering. Oh, I plugged my 3D mouse into my laptop, so I can't use it. This is the OEM control arm versus our control arm. And we have 5 mounting positions for the coilover. We have 4 that go on the knuckle. We have 7 for the sway bar, all of which could be used potentially. And essentially you're gonna have an increase in motion ratio or a decrease, so you could stiffen or soften your suspension. These 4 holes, they were simply to make up the vast difference in camber requirements for drift to road racing. So really, in road racing, you're gonna start by using the outer holes right off the bat, because your default is going to be a camber value of negative with a plus or minus setup. I keep trying to use that mouse. With a plus or minus of 19 millimeters here, that's all you can do. And then if you're drifting, you're gonna start with the shorter, closer hole because we're reducing the camber, and you will have a different plus or minus 19 millimeters from that position. And then the sway bar, these values don't do a lot because the BRZ sway bar is so small. So unless you're upgrading that, that's the only way it's actually going to make vast differences. We really couldn't tell the difference between these settings when we actually did it on the car, mostly because I can hold the sway bar and I can move it by hand. It's really, really tiny. So without a sway bar, but technically you're talking about a 4% increase in leverage by changing the different holes. And then if you go down and over, you're looking at a 2% increase or decrease from the holes because each hole is in between the other holes above and below. And the link actually has enough travel to go in the upper or lower. So really, these have a vast allowance for adjustment, and it definitely is important to cover that. We shouldn't have left that up to the customer to determine, but videos don't always get to everyone, so we will be putting this in a paper format for this kit, right? No, man?
100%.
Yeah, I sent it to him this morning, so he's gonna put it into a PDF install guide. If you've stayed this long, thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.